Hiya Sevens, Mr. Dobson here. In this tutorial we're going to look at rendering. Rendering's a term we use in graphic design around making a product look like a certain material. Again, how we colour that to make it actually look realistic and lifelike. In the previous activity where we did the isometric cube, you started looking at thick and thin, so how we can make a product stand out more and make it more 3D. This one's now going to be adding textures onto it. So we've got a little practice sheet for you to work on, so you can have a little go before you actually start rendering your isometric cube in your booklet. So I'm going to start off with the one that most people like, which is the wood grain one. So you can see we've got the isometric cube drawn up already. The thing with grain detail is a lot of people miss off the idea that the end grain, so the grain that you see here, has to actually attach and meet with the grain running along the top faces. So all we're going to do, obviously you can line out the outside. I'm just going to start on. So again, we start off with drawing our curves. Your teacher might have some wooden cube, so you can actually have a look at some real grain. So if you ask your teacher, they might be able to get them from. We've definitely got some in the department. So that's what we call the end grain. We're then going to run, making sure we attach the grain ring down the side along the edge. So again, that's got to be done. And again, I would never use a ruler to do grain detail. Again, it's a natural product, so I won't worry too much about that. This one here, you can see we've got a bit of a sort of a knot starting. That's where a branch grows out. So again, we'll look at that. So we'll add on that detail. So again, as if we're going to go around, then we'll add on I just see one coming on there. So we've got our basic idea of adding the actual grain on, and that looks fine. So I'll just move that in. We're then going to add a little bit of colour to that, so how we can make it realistic. Just add on the texture I'm trying to achieve. So I've got wood grain, and to do that you'll need a nice sharp yellow and a nice sharp brown pencil. So I'm just going to try and zoom in a little bit. Hopefully help you out a little bit. So the way I would work, I always work towards this front Y that we always start our isometric. And again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over the top of our grain detail. I'm going to go pencil. I'm going to go over it on the line. I want it nice and dark, and then I want to try and fade out the colour to about halfway. So I'm back on the line and then fading out the grain to this front corner. Do exactly the same. So again, I go on the line and then working up to this top edge. So on the line's dark, then we're going to fade out nice and carefully. Again, I want to try and leave some white. I don't want to go all over in brown. So again, try and get a nice range of tones from dark to light. And they're exactly the same on the top. So this time on the top one, I'm going on the line dark, and then again try to fade, vary the tones from that dark to light. So you can see we're always working towards this sort of front corner. Again, I'm going to concentrate on this end grain. So again, do exactly the same thing on the line, nice and dark, and then I'm going to carefully fade it out. Again, trying to leave probably half of it white. Exactly the same on the other one. So on the line, nice and dark, nice, neat, accurate. Nice control of your coloured pencil. Again, we're not scribbling. And we're trying to get a nice tonal shade from dark to light. Again, we should have practiced this on the isometric cube when we looked at trying to make it look a bit more 3D by adding tonal shading on, and then do the exact same thing on the next piece of grain. So dark on the line. And again, once you've learned this technique, you know, this is the same technique that I use with my sixth form students in product design, GCSE students. Again, once you've mastered this basic technique, you know, drawing wood grain objects, really simple. So again, you'll be doing this as a part of the graphics task in your Resistant Materials Tower of Hanoi project. Again, I do it in the year 8. So again, once I've done that, I would then do the same on the side grain. So again, we're not rushing it. We're trying to get it nice and neat. Again, varying all that tone from dark, moving up to this top edge. Nice. Again, remembering to leave some white. You'll see why in a second. Blending it in, just creating a bit more tone work on the bottom there. Again, exact same. So again, I'm just rotating my pencil a little bit to get a nice sharp edge. Get that grain nice and dark. See, on this one, I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm actually going to fade it to the middle. So imagining, I'm actually not, rather than fading this side, where we've got a knot where a piece of wood would grow its new branch. I'm going to actually do that on the inside of this one. But then I'm going to revert back when I do the next bit. So again, a bit close together, so I've got to do my tonal shading a bit clearer. Don't worry if you've gone over the line, that's fine. Last little bit there. So we've added our brown on. Once we've got our brown on, we're then going to take our yellow pencil crayon. And again, you might need a scrap piece of paper, or you could use your ruler. I'm going to use it as a bit of a mask. So what we're going to do, we're then going to wash over. So rather than doing it really dark all over, I'm going to what we call a render grip. So I'm going to hold the pencil a bit further down, so not all the way down here. And again, I'm trying to use the edge of the pencil crayon, yes, rather than the very tip. So I'm just going to very gently, again, I'm going to use my piece of paper as a mask, as a bit of a guide, so we don't go over it. Again, I'm just creating that little wash of yellow. And hopefully you'll be able to see that starts really bringing that block to light. So again, I'm not pressing on particularly hard. We can go over these a bit later on. Again, I'm going to do exactly the same on the end here. That. And then finally do exactly the same on our top face. So at the moment I'm just concentrating on actually putting the grain detail on, doing that light wash over with yellow. Once we've got to that stage, so we've got a basic grain detail on there, we can then start thinking about this idea of taking into account some light source. So we've got our light, imagining it's coming from the top here, so we know this is going to be our lightest face, this will be our medium tone, this is then going to be our dark tone. So what we might need to do, we might need to actually just put a little bit more pressure onto the side here, so again just using that render grip. Again, I might then go back to just very, very lightly washing over all of it with the brown just to darken off this side a little bit. So the idea that this is a little bit in shadow. Again, I'm going to just change direction just to try and blend in a little bit. Just try and darken off. Again, you can see I tend to use my finger as a guide rather than a paper mask, but again, it's entirely your choice. Whatever you're comfortable with, you can use your ruler, you can use a piece of paper. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Again, very similar to the technique we used on the first couple of pages of our graphics booklet. But again, hopefully you can see that's getting darker than that side. And again, we might then wash over this one. So that's the lightest, that's the darkest. This one we want a medium tone. And again, I'm actually sort of shading it slightly darker at the bottom, leaving the top a bit lighter. Again, it might not show up so well on the visualized recording, but again, same idea, just wash over. So we have this idea of lighter side, darker side, medium side. So there we go. That's task 1, rendering wood grain.